Greetings everybody and welcome back. You are watching the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel, and today I wanted to share with you something that is sometimes forgotten when you are looking for a vintage sewing machine. Many of my viewers have either had the experience or are thinking about it, and this is of course a Singer 201 that I made a video on recently talking about the cabinet and is the foot pedal missing? As it turns out, I still haven't found my power cord to this machine yet. And again, when it comes to the condition of a machine, and I've shared this with all of you before, do not be surprised if you get a machine where either it has no needle, or in this case, it has a part of a needle. Looks like the needle is broken. And I'm going to replace this, obviously, but one of the things you'll want to do is to actually, and you should really do this even if there is no needle at all, you can always inspect below the machine in the area just below the needle. Again, removing the needle plate, which I'll be doing because I want to get the lint cleaned out. You can also look for needle fragments, because if a needle breaks and if a piece of the needle falls down, it can cause problems with the mechanical moving of your machine's system. So, but in this case, I have no idea. But for whatever reason, the needle is broken. Now, I also see, what else do I see? I see a big nest here of thread, and there's a way. Again, you can pull out old threads. I just did. That one wasn't so bad. Sometimes you'll have a thread nest. You can get it undone. You can get your scissors out, and it's not, it just takes patience and time. And I've been looking at the machine, and as I've been looking, of course, I believe I see my the rubber belt here is still working. I can't tell that it's shredding, but I'll be taking that off to inspect it. I won't be surprised if I see some cracking, fine cracks. It's probably time to replace it. And again, with the motor, I'll be servicing the motor like I've shown in other recent videos. But what I wanted to really kind of address today is something that people don't always remember to do. And that is to check your table, because sometimes a sewing table, such as the one that this Singer 201 came with, I believe it is the original table, your tables, of course, have, many of them have drawers, little cubby areas. You want to check those, because I have actually bought machines before, and if you have been in a situation like I have occasionally where you don't have a lot of time to look at stuff, people just, you're going to someone's house often, and they don't know you, do you want the machine? You kind of get to look at it. Some people are not always interested in you hanging out doing a full inspection, and it's going to vary. It'll vary depending on the person. And so you may or may not be able to, look at the whole table. So I actually opened up this little folding drawer, if you will, but I didn't actually get a chance to go through it yet. So we're going to do that together. I just knew it had things in it, and I'm like, okay. It was just a kind of a quick glance, and then I closed it back and got the table and the machine loaded up into my vehicle. So let's see what's in here. Always investigate and check everything that is here. Now, you never know what you're going to find until you search. This is, let's see what this is. It's pretty obvious. It's a tape measure. And it says, what does it say? Nobody pleases you like Smitty's Fine Furniture. And I don't believe that the sewing table didn't come from there, but the tape measure sure did. You can see a furniture store having tape measures that people might need. Anyway, that is, and it shows, it's got the, whatever, probably older phone numbers. I don't know if they're still any good. And I don't know if Smitty's is still an ongoing business. But in any case, it is part of the history of certainly the prior owner. So I'll set that aside. And it's not unusual to see to see, wads of thread, and let's see, got some spools. Many of you will sometimes find old spools of thread. Occasionally the thread is still good, or in this case it's not. I literally just gently tugged on it and it broke. A lot of times thread, if it ages, doesn't always age well. It can weaken, and I would strongly suggest not using it. Now you can test it, of course, by tugging on it. So let's try this one. This is some sort of gold. Now this is a heavier weight thread, but I'm pulling on that and it's not going anywhere. This is thread I would definitely consider using. And so set that over there. It's still attached. We got a couple more spools of thread here. Again, you can check them. I don't mean to suggest you should automatically throw all of the thread away. Some of it may be fine. I've found old spools of thread I have been able to use, but don't assume that all of it is in good condition. All right, what else we got here? All right, we've got some, I thought it was like a button. Rivets. These are things that people would have for doing sewing projects. I see this looks like an old hook to maybe draperies. Remember, people sewed all kinds of things with these. Got a little toy cat here or something. I don't know. Maybe it belonged to a child or a grandchild. Oh yes. These make me happy. I love seeing these. These are vintage Singer top-loading bobbins, sometimes called Class 66 bobbins. Gorgeous. And yes, I am not kidding when I say vintage bobbins were made better. If you don't have vintage bobbins, you can try the new metal ones. Don't use plastic on these machines. They don't play nice with the plastic. What else have I got here? That's an old felt washer. And if it goes back to when the machine was made, they're probably made of wool. And I see some old pins down in here. I won't be using those. And I have, oh, look at that. This, for those of you who are new to vintage machines and may not know, if you see this, you should often see a thumb screw that goes with it. If you don't, you can certainly get a thumb screw to use with it, so don't throw this away. This is a seam guide. For those of you who are new, a seam guide is a really big deal because it would come later, but for reasons that are not clear to me, the sewing manufacturers, when you go further back in time, and this includes Singer, they have on the needle plate, they're often just smooth. There's no marking, there's no delineation or measurement. And having a metric here was very important because when you're stitching fabric, you need to know where to make your seam. When you're doing a seam allowance, you kind of need to know where you are. And later on in the Singer 185, for example, and later Singers, I think the 301 may have this. In any case, they would have engraved markings in the needle plates, but of course the 201 from this year did not have them. And so we say, well, how did they manage that? You would take your seam guide, and you have two holes here, and you can adjust where the seam guide goes, and then once you get the little thumb screw started, you can you can put into place a seam guide just like this, and it'll stay put for you. So it's an excellent thing to have, whether you use it. Some of you may or may not use them, but that's what this is. So don't throw that away. It's a lovely piece that may have been standard. What else is here? I see. Oh, well, let's put our camera down here so you can see what I just grabbed a hold of. So I just grabbed into the drawer there, and I saw what looked like masking tape, and it is, but look what is attached to it. Again, you really want to go through this stuff because once you realize you might have something you need. So, all right, let's see. This is a spool pin. Are we missing a spool pin? Well, no. The 201 has one spool pin up top. But those of you who know the 201 know that it actually needs another spool pin. Why? There is a spool pin that goes right here. Now, I don't know if the prior owner took this out because, or if it probably came loose and flopped out and they didn't want to lose it, so they must have taped it down here in the drawer. But this, of course, and I'll take a rubber mallet and just sort of tap this back in. This is important because when you go to wind a bobbin, you actually attach, unlike other machines, you don't start your bobbin thread up here and come around. Some machines you do, but on the 201, as with the 301, it provides you with a separate spool pin. So the thread goes on the pin like so, and I've demonstrated in other videos how to wind a bobbin on a 201. But anyway, the point of this topic of conversation is that this pin is important if you're going to wind a bobbin. So that's nice to have. I would have had to have gone into my spare parts to see if I have one, or I would have had to order one. I very much appreciate the prior owner taping it. They must have had it taped with masking tape down here, down in here, so they didn't lose it. So how cool is that? So there you go. When you get your sewing machine home and you're still trying to figure out what you got, what's there, is there anything missing, which you may not have noticed when you bought it. I know what to look for, but again, I have to make decisions sometimes quickly. I wish I didn't have to, but again, I'm a stranger, this big tall guy here, you basically want to tell the people, yes, I would like to buy the machine. Can I look at it? You look at it for a few minutes if you're lucky. And then when you get it home, sometimes you get surprised. Sometimes there are some things that you are happy to see, and sometimes there are things that you start to ask yourself, oh, did a power cord come with this? I'm not worried about that at all. In fact, I have spare power cords for singers that take the three prong terminal plug. But again, if this happens to you, if you get the machine, you're so excited, oh, this is a cool machine. Oh, there's no plug. What am I going to do? That's okay. Because if you're missing a power plug, or even if you're missing a foot pedal or speed control, this one is not. I showed you guys in an earlier video that the foot pedal was hiding inside the table because it was set up to be used alternately as a knee controlled speed control. So don't panic, because again, one of the great reasons that I often suggest, if you are new to vintage sewing machines and you don't have one and you're looking for one to restore, a Singer branded machine is a great first machine to do that with, because getting parts for them is very straightforward. Now, if you have another brand, or maybe you say, I don't want that. I want Italian Necki, or a German Pfaff, or a Swedish Viking Husqvarna. That's a mouthful. Then absolutely go for it. I'm just saying, if you're starting out and trying to figure out how you're going to restore or repair a vintage sewing machine, if you have the option for a Singer, you may discover that it is a little more straightforward to find parts, both vintage and reproduction. So thank you all for watching and looking at my latest 201. I'm getting a wave of machines here, and I'm getting more 201s than I've seen in a long time for restoration. But if whether you have a 201 or another machine, feel free to dive right in. You can also support this channel and support my efforts to purchase more of these machines, to rescue them and get them here on the channel. You can click on any of the Buy Me a Coffee links that you see on this channel. They're on every video and on the homepage. And feel free to make a donation to help me out as I go looking for more and more of these machines to rescue and share with all of you here on the channel. I appreciate all of you watching, and we'll see you next time.